North side, south side, east side, west side, north side, south side. Welcome to Atlanta where the Falcons play, and we coming for that dub like every day. Big beats hit streets, see gangsters roaming, and parties don't stop till 8 in the morning.
I said welcome to Atlanta where the Falcons play, and we going for that dub like every day. Big beats hit the streets, see gangsters roaming, and parties don't stop till 8 in the morning.
What's good, YouTube? Down Falcons here, back with another video. Welcome back to Falcons Talk, Season 2, Episode 6, Run Through Player Stat Projections. Hope you guys enjoy this one. Please like, share, and subscribe if you're not already, and comment down below what you think. With that being said, let's get started. So here's the overview. So in this video, I'll predict the stat line for most of the players on this roster. This includes the likes of Kirk Cousins, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, etc. Of course, I'm not a fortune teller, but I can at least attempt to predict the stat line of some of these players. And with that being said, let's begin. So first up is quarterback Kirk Cousins. Through 16 games, I have him completing 70% of his passes, throwing for 4,590 yards, 32 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, with a quarterback rating of 110.83. On the ground, he had 20 carries for 140 yards, 4 rushing touchdowns, and sadly, 2 fumbles with 1 loss. So yeah, we finally got a competent quarterback who can get the ball to the receivers. Could we see him in the playoffs? That's the hope, but this is for the regular season only. Alright, next up is the rookie quarterback, Michael Penix Jr. And he's going to make his debut week 18. And in that game, he's going to complete 73% of his passes, throw for 230 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, for a quarterback rating of 103.13. On the ground, he'll have 9 carries for 80 yards and a rushing touchdown. So yeah, like I said, when it comes to Michael Penix Jr., he's going to make his NFL debut week 18. If assuming like we already clinched a playoff. If we clinched a playoff a little bit earlier, we could see him starting a little bit earlier. But for now, I had to see week 18. Alright, with the quarterbacks out of the way, because I'd highly doubt that Taylor Heinicke will get playing time, let's move on to the wide receivers. First up is Drake London. 70 receptions on 100 targets, 1,205 receiving yards, 8.8 yards after catch, 8 receiving touchdowns, and 52 first downs. So finally, Drake London has a quarterback. He has a quarterback that can get him the ball. And now this is a chance to break out and show the world why the Falcons drafted him 8th overall in 2022. Next up is Darnell Mooney. 50 receptions on 72 targets, 734 receiving yards, 7.3 yards after catch, 3 receiving touchdowns, and 28 first downs. So Darnell Mooney, he's going to be very competitive in that wide receiver 2 slot. So we know that Drake London is wide receiver 1, but that wide receiver 2 position is going to be very interesting. Next up is KhaDarel Hodge. 45 receptions on 52 targets, 687 receiving yards, 5.7 yards after catch, 1 touchdown, and 15 first downs. So I don't see a lot of playing time from KhaDarel Hodge. Yes, I know we just re-signed him, but I don't see him playing like a ton. He will get adequate playing time, but it won't be the entirety of the game. All right, now we got Ray McCloud. 35 receptions on 64 targets, 854 receiving yards, 6.7 yards after catch, 3 touchdowns, and 32 first downs. So Ray McCloud, he's going to be electric on that offense. And as a return man, I expect a lot from him. I think that he's going to give us a kickoff return touchdown. I don't think that's going to really happen, but it is what it is. I think so. Hopefully I'm right. Okay. Next up is Rondale Moore. 30 receptions on 60 targets, 758 receiving yards, 5.4 yards after catch, 4 receiving touchdowns, and 26 first downs. So Rondale Moore, he's going to be that competitive wide receiver 3 guy. I don't see a lot from him, even though we did get them from that Desmond Ridder trade. I don't see him being like the top guy for Kirk Cousins. He's still going to get us some touchdowns, but it won't be that much. All right, next up is the rookie, Casey Washington. 20 receptions on 35 targets, 432 yards, 4.2 yards per catch, 1 receiving touchdown, and 18 first downs. So Casey Washington, I don't expect to hear a lot about him during the start of the season, but probably after the bye, that's when his name will start popping up more and more. Alrighty, we're done with the wide receivers. Let's move on to the tight end. And first up is Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts Sr. There we go. Kyle Pitts Sr. Because now he has a son named Junior. He has 68 targets. He has 68 receptions on 84 targets, 1,305 yards, 9.8 yards after catch, 8 touchdowns, and 40 first downs. So, kind of like Drake London, he has a quarterback, finally, that can get him the ball. He's going to go back to his rookie type, when Matt Ryan was there. He's going to break out. And I don't think that's offensive player of the year worthy, but he's going to make a lot of noise. All right, next up is John Fitzpatrick. Through 8 games, 18 receptions on 25 targets, 180 receiving yards, 4.2 yards after catch, 2 touchdowns, and 10 first downs. So John Fitzpatrick, he has not done a lot for the Falcons ever since he got drafted. But I feel like now that we have Kirk Cousins, I feel like he's going to start getting some playing time so you can actually see what he can do. And he's going to be more so of a blocking tight end than just a pass catcher. Next up is Charlie Woerner. 8 receptions on 15 targets, 120 receiving yards, 2.1 yards after catch, 1 touchdown, and 8 first downs. So when kind of like what I said with John Fitzpatrick, I don't expect him to be playing much. He hasn't done a lot when he was with San Francisco, so I don't expect the same here. All right, tight ends out of the way. Let's move on to the running back. And first man up is our man, Bijan Robinson. 250 carries for 1,245 rushing yards, 8 rushing touchdowns, 9.4 yards per carry, and 60 receptions, 654 yards, 2 receiving touchdowns, and 8.5 yards after catch. So yeah, Bijan Robinson, that electrifying player, he's going to have a phenomenal sophomore season. His rookie year, he showed out, and I expect him to do the same this year, now that he has a good quarterback. Next up is Tyler Algier. 150 carries, 940 rushing yards, 5 rushing touchdowns, 6.4 yards per carry, and 40 receptions for 465 yards, 1 receiving touchdown, and 6.5 yards after catch. So Tyler Algier, he's still a phenomenal player, let's not forget. And there have been many trade rumors surrounding him. The Falcons better not trade Tyler Algier. He's a phenomenal player. He and Bijan Robinson, they give that offense a 1-2 punch in that running back position. It's like a two-headed monster that we have. You cannot get past Bijan nor Tyler Algier because they will run you over. Alright, next up is Jase McClellan, the rookie. 50 carries for 230 rushing yards, 3 rushing touchdowns, and 3.4 yards per carry. So yeah, when it comes to the rookies, especially who drafted in later rounds, don't expect them to make a lot of noise. I can't wait to see what he can do, but I don't see a lot from him throughout the start of the season. Yeah, throughout the final games where they start breaking on. Alright, and lastly for that offense, we have the kicker, the GOAT, Young Wei Koo. Young Wei Koo. He's going to be perfect. Nothing else said. He's not going to miss a single field goal. I know that's crazy, but you can bet on it. He's not going to miss a field goal. He's going to have 25 made field goals and 30 extra points. That totals 125 points. Alright, let's move on to the defense. And first up is Jessie Bates III. 150 total tackles, 5 forced fumbles, 8 interceptions, 120 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 8 pass deflections. So Jessie Bates, he broke out. He had 6 interceptions in one season with us. Who's to say he won't have a better year? There's no way Jessie Bates is gonna suck. He'll be needing to hire him to a 4-year deal for nothing. Jessie Bates, he showed us why we signed him all that money for 4 years. So I expect him to do the same that he did in his first year. Our next up is the safety Richie Grant. 120 total tackles, 3 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery for 21 yards, 2 interceptions, 43 yards, and 2 pass deflections. So when it comes to Richie Grant, I feel like people hate on him too much. I feel like Richie Grant, he can make plays, but he just needs to be in the right system. And I feel like under defensive-minded Raheem Morris, we can actually unlock something in him that can make him the player that he can be. Our next up is DeMarcco Hellams. 80 total tackles, 1 forced fumble, 1 interception, and 3 pass deflections. So yes, I have DeMarcco Hellams recording his first career interception this season Which game do you ask? I'm going to probably say, and that's going to be interesting. But if I'm going to be honest, I would say week 7 versus the Seahawks. I feel like he could have his first career interception there. He had a phenomenal rookie preseason, and to the last games of the regular season, he played well. I feel like now is his chance to get his first career interception. All right. Next up is Antonio Hamilton Sr., the cornerback. Okay, he got 45 total tackles and 3 pass deflections. Now, nothing else needs to be said here. Don't expect to hear much about him. Alright, next up is Dee Alford. 50 total tackles, 1 forced fumble, 2 interceptions, and 59 yards for those 2 interceptions. So when it comes to Dee Alford, he has been playing very good football with us. And like I said, under defensive-minded head coach Raheem Morris, he can bust out and show the world who he can be. All right, next up is Clark Phillips III. 38 total tackles, 2 forced fumbles, 2 interceptions, 32 yards, and 4 pass deflections. So Clark Phillips, kind of like DeMarco Hellams, he played very well his last couple of games. And I feel like now is his chance to just put it all together during his second year. I think he will be a phenomenal player. Alright, next up is AJ Terrell. 70 total tackles, 2 forced fumbles, 5 interceptions for 123 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 4 pass deflections. So when it comes to AJ Terrell, I predict that he will go back to his 2021 form. I know he has not made a lot of noise for 2022 and 2023, but I feel like this is his chance to just go back to that good AJ Terrell that we know, who had 3 interceptions, and he was the Dolphins' best player, even though he got robbed the Pro Bowl at that time. Raheem Morris, the defensive mind, he could bring some of that Ram scheme and form AJ Terrell to a phenomenal player. Okay, now we got Avery Williams. 20 total tackles, 1 forced fumble, 1 interception for 30 yards. So Avery Williams, he's back in action after suffering an ACL injury. And I don't think he's going to be playing extremely hard. I think the Falcons will take it very easy on him, just to let him rejuvenate more and rehab if necessary. All right, let's move on to linebackers. Troy Anderson is first. 34 total tackles, 1 forced fumble, 4 sacks, and 2 pass deflections. So Troy Anderson, who was sidelined after a pectoral injury, has a chance to have a renaissance, have a comeback here. And he's been playing very good football before that injury. I feel like this is a chance for Troy Anderson to break out. Next up is rookie J.D. Bertrand. 27 total tackles and half a sack. So the rookies, like I said, what they drafted in the 4th to 7th round, don't expect to hear a lot from them. They're not going to be playing that much. They're going to hear more of them in later games. So like weeks 15 to 18, weeks 13 to 18, around that time, that's when you're going to hear more about those players. Next up is linebacker Lorenzo Carter. 40 total tackles, 4.5 sacks, 1 interception, 15 yards, and a touchdown, 2 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries for 23 yards. So yeah, I feel like Lorenzo Carter, he's going to be staying with the team. He's still a very viable option for the Falcons. He's been consistent every year, and it would not be fair if we got rid of him. He needs to stay because Lorenzo Carter, he's a ball hawk. He can play and makes up when it happens. All right, next up is the Dr. Arnold Ebiketie. 32 total tackles, 10.5 sacks, 4 first fumbles, 1 fumble recovery for 28 yards. So yes, I have Arnold Ebiketie being the first Atlanta Falcons Big Beastly in 2016 to record double-digit sacks in one season. Arnold Ebiketie, he had a phenomenal 2023 year, and I feel like in his third year, he's going to be a monster. He's going to break out and show the world that, hey, I can be a phenomenal player. I can be that Michael Parsons type of linebacker. All right, next up is Kaden Elliss. 140 total tackles, 5.5 sacks, and 1 forced fumble. So Kaden Elliss, he had a very solid first year with the Falcons. And I think he's going to keep on that consistency. He's still going to be that player that makes plays, gets to the quarterback when needed, type of guy. All right. Next up is Nate Landman. 126 total tackles, 3.5 sacks, 1 interception, 1 touchdown, 3 forced fumbles, and 1 fumble recovery for 42 yards. So yeah, Nate Landman, the undrafted free agent, he's become that gem in the Falcons defense. We made the right choice getting Nate Landman on our team. He's going to have a phenomenal year. He's been solid. He was solid last year, and this year, I feel like he's going to have a breakout year. All right, next up is the rookie linebacker, Bralen Trice. 86 total tackles and 2 sacks. So yeah, like I said, when it comes to these rookies, they're not going to make a lot of noise to start, but as time goes on, they will start getting the hang of the game and they'll start making lots of noise. All right, next up is another rookie, Brandon Dorris. 75 total tackles and 1.5 sacks. Same principle. All right, next up is Zach Harrison. 43 total tackles, 5.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and 1 fumble recovery. So when it comes to Zach Harrison, his rookie year, he was very solid those last couple of games. Zach Harrison, he has a good chance, to have a solid sophomore season. That's why I have him having 5.5 sacks. I feel like he's going to have that leap that we need because he's had trouble getting to the quarterback for a long time. And last year we had 42 sacks. I feel like with this group of young players who have now experience, our sacks are going to increase. And I feel like Jimmy Lake and Raheem Morris, they can help with that. Next up is Eddie Goldman. 33 total tackles, and 1.5 sacks. So yeah, the man who just unretired, don't expect to hear much from him. He's very up there in age, so he's not gonna make a lot of noise, but he's gonna make some plays when needed. Gotta let the man rest. Our next up is another rookie, and probably the last one, Zion Lock. 38 total tackles, half a sack, and 1 pass deflection. So Zion Lock, he's going to be that guy who's going to shine the last couple of games, like all the rookies. He's not going to get to the quarterback. I'm not expecting to get a sack, or if he does, it'll be half a sack. But yeah, not much needs to be said about him. Next up is David Onyemata. 60 total tackles, 3.5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, and 1 fumble recovery for 12 yards. So David Onyemata, who was solid his first year with the Falcons, he got a chance to, continue what he's been doing for this team. He's been solid last year. I expect him to do the same this year. All right, we got another rookie, probably the last one, Ruke Orhorhoro. 40 total tackles, half a sack, 1 forced fumble, and 1 fumble recovery. So yeah, when it comes to Ruke Orhorhoro, he's going to learn a lot from Grady Jarrett, and he's going to have a lot of rookie mistakes. Well, let's not kid ourselves here. He's going to struggle a little bit, but I feel like with that veteran presence, he can be a phenomenal player. Grady Jarrett, the former Clemson star, he knows the process of being a rookie and just getting to the NFL. He will be a great mentor for Ruke Orhorhoro. He has a chance to be great. And speaking of Grady Jarrett, here's the man himself. 70 total tackles, 8.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 2 fumble recoveries. So, Mr. You shall not pass. Grady Jarrett, coming off an ACL injury, he's going to bounce back. He's going to show the world, hey, I may have hurt myself last season, but I'm healthy, I'm back, and I'm ready to get to the quarterback. All right, and lastly is James Smith-Williams. 30 total tackles and 1 sack. He has not been consistent his entire career, so don't expect him to do a lot. All right, with all of those players out of the way, let's do the closer. So the Falcons 2024 roster looks to be potent and playoff ready. Of course, when it came to these stat predictions, it is not expected that these will happen, but it doesn't hurt to try and predict what the team will do this season. Hopefully some of these takes are close to perfect and some are not god-awful. Best of luck to these players, and I look forward to watching you play. And with that being said, that will wrap up episode 6. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.